You could be the best coach in the world, and you could be the best, most knowledgeable car salesman in the world. If you don't come in with the right energy, nobody's going to buy from you. The problem that people have is this feeling of, I don't want to be pushy or I don't want to be salesy. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. People's biggest mistake that most people make is they pitch. And so like the 3 C's of the sales samurai, you have conviction, you have confidence, you need to have control. Because otherwise you repel, and that's the problem.
Budgets, you can smash them. They don't have to exist. People just make them up.
Budgets aren't real. It's fact.
Friends, budgets are not real. So damn true.
Remember, adversity is your advantage.
Hey friends, cannot wait for you to check out this episode I just recorded with my 2 good friends, Joe Marcoux and Jeff Burlingame. And Joe and Jeff are world-class sales trainers, founders of SOS Dojo. They're official partners of Fit Body Bootcamp, which is the franchise that I oversee. So if you want to learn how to increase your income, your impact, your legacy through learning how to sell and add value to others, you got to check out this episode. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Fired up.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you.
Why is sales important? You guys are the experts.
You know what? Sales is important because selling is helping. And if you want to be able to help people, you better start loving sales. Because how many people do you know, especially in Fit Body Bootcamp, where they come to you and they want to become a franchise partner and they say, I want to be able to help people because I love fitness and I want to help people live a better quality of life, but I just don't like sales. How often do you hear that?
That happens, and it happens more often than you would think.
Exactly.
In my response, and I've just been so inspired by our relationship and the value you've provided our brand, but if you can't sell, you can't serve.
Right.
And most times, from my perspective, people want to get in this fitness game because they are very service-oriented, but you need the sales in order to do that.
Yeah, and so the problem that people have is this feeling of, I don't want to be pushy or I don't want to be salesy, and that ick sense that people have. And so if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's part of the mission that we have. We want to be able to help people have a different perspective on what sales truly is. And we like to make sales ELF. Easy, lucrative, and fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Burley, I'm going to look to you. How did you get into sales? When did you figure out this is important? And kind of give us a little backstory there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess getting into sales goes way back to selling treadmills at Dick's Sporting Goods. So I was in college, I needed to make money, and just the hourly is not enough money. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you get into retail, and all my people at home who have worked lowly jobs get this, but you're making like $7 to $8 an hour minimum wage. Back in the day, this was. But you're not making enough money. So like you need opportunities, and the opportunity that was presented to me was like, hey, we'll pay you commission if you sell extended warranties on treadmills. And I was like, okay, sure, I can do that. And I just had to look at, okay, what's the benefit of the extended warranty? How do I get people excited about that? And then the company ran, Dick's Sporting Goods ran a competition. It was like whoever sells the most extended warranties over the Christmas holiday gets this extra bonus. And I was like, oh, that's mine. Nice. And then that's when I realized sales also had like this competitive nature. And like that was an exciting part of it. And I sold the most and I got the bonus, and like you get, your face on the wall. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
I was just going to say, I knew for the moment that you started this, I'm like,
you thought I was going to say
the competitive guy. No way. The competitive guy that you are, you're going to go get it. You're just going to go get it for sure.
So yeah, it was me and this other guy were competing. We were like neck and neck, but I ended up winning. It was awesome. I got the bonus. I was like, okay, cool. Nice. Now bonus, it was like a tiny amount of money. And I was like, okay, but sales-wise, there's other opportunities out there. And what we've been talking about recently is like everybody's passionate about something, and if you can sell that thing, then you can live the way you want to live. Then you can coach. Then you can help people live healthier lives with Fit Body Bootcamp. And I was thinking, to your example, the interesting alternative to that would be how many people, Bryce, come to you and say, you know what, I love selling. Like, I'm really a big fan of selling.
I don't think I've heard that, but very rare. I was almost
rare.
Going to say I've never heard that. I have, but it is so rare.
Yeah. Like the 1%.
So rare.
Yeah. So it just never happens. But what you realize, and we were talking about this over breakfast, I think today, it's like if you can sell, there's always an opportunity on this planet. Like you can do something.
Yeah.
Like that.
You get knocked out of a job, I mean, if you've got a job, if you're not, even if you're an entrepreneur, and let's face it, how many entrepreneurs that you know that they failed and they failed and they failed, and then eventually they got it?
Most.
I mean, right. I mean, and I've had tons of failures in my life, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that the backup plan for any entrepreneur is, I know I can sell.
Yeah.
Like,
if you can sell
right.
it, you can do something else.
100%.
You're
ticket.
safe.
Yeah.
You're safe. That's really what it comes down
job
to.
security is in sales. And if you really want to make a lot of money, it's not because, I mean, obviously you're going to do well if you're passionate about what you're offering. But if you look at, hey, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a lawyer, the people that are in sales have the better lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt.
Before I unpack your story, Joe, in terms of where you found sales, I want to take a dig in a little bit to you, Burley.
Yeah.
You talked about, selling extended warranties in the treadmill. That was kind of your open window, if you will, to sales. From your perspective, did you have a natural kind of knack for it? Is this a learned skill? Because that's the big question. I'm not a natural born salesman. What does that look like from your lens?
Yeah, so ultimately nobody's a natural born salesperson. And that's the reality of it that people don't really understand. They'll see a really good salesperson, they'll say like, wow, lucky them. Just like every entrepreneur.
Totally.
You're so lucky. Like, and we all know we worked our asses off to get here. So don't give me that crap. But yes, like you're not a natural born salesperson. Nobody is. So what I did is I actually picked up 2 books and I read them around 40 times each. And I got into selling personal training. So like my first real sales gig with like actual commission opportunity, that was much more than extended warranty bonuses, where I could actually make a living off of this thing, was selling personal training. And I worked for a company that we subcontracted PT within an existing gym. So we go to like any mom and pop gym and we would create a personal training like program within that gym. So people already had memberships and I would like go up and cold call them at the gym. I could call them, but I just grabbed them off the floor. So I just walked the floor, people would be on the treadmill, headphones in, and I would actually walk up and I'd do this and they would pop their headphones out.
That was your
Body
your
language.
sales cue.
Body language. So I'd walk
55%
up,
body language.
look
There
at
it is.
them, I go like this, and I go like this, and they pop their headphones out. I'd be like, hi. And then I would introduce myself. I'd offer them what essentially would now be like a clarity call, but we called it the personal training experience. So it'd be like, hey, have you taken advantage of your personal training experience? They'd say no. I'd say, oh my gosh, well, let's do it, right? You got time right now? And I would like work them out, do the sales pitch, all that stuff. But like ultimately what it came down to is I needed to improve that skill set because nobody's a natural born salesperson. So I picked up the Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer and I picked up The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
And on audiobook, I listened to them every day to work and back home. And my commute happened to be 45 minutes. So I had an hour and a half a day to chug through these books. And in the span of a year, I ended up listening to it between driving and like at home on my headphones just like 40 times, both of those books, to the point where they were just in my brain. And that's how I trained myself. So I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a program, which if I had, it would have happened faster. But I just listened to the books and I would just write down something interesting, and then I would try to apply it to my personal training experience, my sales calls that day. And through that application, just grew that skill set and got really comfortable with it. And then from there, other opportunities opened up. I moved out to the East Coast. I ran personal training departments for 7 very large gyms that were up and down the East Coast, from New York down to Virginia, like the DC area. And we had 300 personal trainers. We were doing around $1.5 million in personal training per month that I was responsible for making sure we hit that goal. And it all like stemmed from that growth skill set that I had from just reading books. So like if anybody needs to just get a little better at sales, read a book.
Well, personal development, self-mastery is a huge part of entrepreneurship and salesmanship. I was going to ask to unpack the box for you. You just gave a clear example.
Yep.
Before I kick it over to Joe, looking back at that experience, not only the foundational experience, but then moving to the East Coast, selling $1.5 million in personal training on a monthly basis, what was your biggest learning lesson, or I guess, biggest sales learning lesson from that particular experience?
It was, there was plenty, but I guess other than just recognizing that I could improve my skill set by simply learning and applying, that was like the biggest one. I would say being okay with no was like the next biggest one, because at first, like the first time I tried to pitch personal training, I got a no, and I was like embarrassed and distraught, and I was like, oh no, I'm a bad person, and I'm not good at my job, and like I should quit and do something else that's easy. And then I realized like, oh, like a no really means not right now, or not with the information that I've been presented with, or not with the value that I perceive at this moment. And through realizing that, I was like, oh, like no's not a big deal. They're not saying, no, you're an idiot, never talk to me again. They just need more help to perceive the right quantity of value. And like once they saw that value, once it was more clear to them, then it became easy. So I realized like it was my communication that sucked. And if I just improved my communication skills and I could help them perceive that value, all of a sudden it was a no-brainer for them. So I decided to work on communication. And that's like a lot of the psychology of selling from Brian Tracy is that. It's helping people visualize and see and feel, and like you make it something real for them, and they get more excited about it. The more excited they get, the more they want it. And the more they want it, the easier it is to sell. So it just became like this constant cycle of improvement. But yeah, like don't be afraid of no would be probably the biggest thing. And if you can eliminate your fear of no, you can sell anything because you have this endurance and perseverance for it.
Dude, love that. It reminds me, I think one of the trainings that you did in December for our mastermind group, which you guys have just been a godsend on a monthly basis, being able to pour into them, but also our entire brand for that matter as well. But you talked about no, it's just not now, not today, not with the current information. And that mental reframe is just mission critical, because in sales, you're going to face rejection. Life, you're going to face rejection. Yeah. You just got to get used to it, keep pushing through, and that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Joe, how about you, man? What was the backstory of sales? When did you realize, oh, wow, there's something here?
It's similar to Jeff's journey. I actually started in the fitness industry, although previous to that, if I start my actual first sales job, I was a paper boy. And I had to, part of the job wasn't just doing delivery. This is back when we had these little stubs that we'd have to give back to the company. I mean, I'm aging myself. I'd go door to door, and I would say, would you like to subscribe to the Winnipeg Free Press? And then I was this kid selling. They had a little sales script. And I mean, I remember the first time with the paper, and I'm shaking. And I mean, the more papers that I would deliver on a daily basis, the more money I would make. So part of it was going to do the pitch, doing the delivery, and then I had to collect. So I had to collect the money, and then my manager would come by and pick up the money every week. It was crazy. I think of it now. I mean, like the way that newspapers, they're not even a thing anymore. That was the first sales job. And that whole toes to toes, nose to nose thing, just like it built up skill set to be able to get into other things like acting and school, politics and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff. And
that you were involved in.
Oh yeah.
You're like an onion, man. Every time we hang out, like there's another layer to this.
So yeah, it was fun. It gave me the opportunity to, okay, I'm going to speak in front of people, because it was like, if I can go knock on a door cold and have like, you think of it, you're 12 or 13 and you're knocking on a door, and a 50-year-old man,
holy
right? Like
smokes.
In his underwear.
Exactly. Or you're interrupting. It's like cold calling now. Nobody's expecting your call. So you're interrupting people.
Yeah.
And when it's dinner time, I mean, like I'm doing it at dinner, making sure people are home.
Yeah,
so it's like banging on the door, hit the doorbell, and it's like, maybe today's even worse, because you ring the doorbell and people are like, who's here? Like nobody's Back then it was like, oh, maybe company's coming over, and it's like, who are you, kid? So things have changed. Yeah. So that was the first experience. Then after that, again, for the love of fitness, I worked for a specialty fitness retail store for a couple of years, and then I decided this was from the age of 18 to 20. And they offered me a partnership in the store. The thing is, there was too many ladles in the soup. There were too many people that are going to be involved. So I actually decided to open up my own exercise equipment retail store I think of it now, like at the age of 20. So I already had the chops, because I had managed a fitness store and high ticket retail. So treadmills ranging from back then $3,000 to $8,000 for people's homes. Yeah. And at 20, I figured out there's some very wealthy people that they can afford to stay healthy and fit. Like that shift was happening. Back then, it was Faith Popcorn saying that, oh, everybody's going to just community everything. And it was like, no. People can afford to go to Home Depot and buy tools instead of borrowing your neighbor's tools. Like, so fitness was going to be the next thing. And I just said, I'm in. And that's how it started. And then I had to really learn how to sell. So I did some reading, similar books. I also got lucky. I got the opportunity. A very close friend and a TV personality in Winnipeg bought me a ticket to go see Jim Rohn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I got a chance to work with Jim
like the
Rohn.
legend, man.
Yeah. He's Tony Robbins'
mentor.
So I got a chance to do some work with him, have conversations with Mr. Rohn, and then Bob Proctor and T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Tracy, Mark Victor Hansen. I did a few with Mark Victor Hansen, and he was Jack Canfield's partner in Chicken Soup.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the time collapsing aspect of that in my youth, the one thing that I wish I would have had was a coach earlier on. It's one thing to go to these workshops and seminars. It's a completely different thing once you get a coach and you have somebody holding you accountable. It's a game changer.
Would you, kind of leading the witness here, would that be an inspiration for you creating SOS Dojo
100%.
to be able to provide that coaching platform
Yeah.
for guys like you who needed it back in the day?
Yeah. And I mean, I have a little bit of a background in martial arts, well, years in Taekwondo, and then I got into Kung Fu, and the different aspects of mixed martial arts wasn't even a thing back when I was competing. And what was interesting was that there's different ways to be able to have a conversation with people, and there's different ways to be able to have martial arts. What was fascinating was there was an ascension model that you had to earn your way to your next belt. You couldn't just, okay, I'm going to spend $300 and now I'm going to become a blue belt. It's like, nuh-uh. You've got to earn it. And that was part of the process of when this whole idea of the dojo came to mind. And yeah, here we are now with 3 different modalities of marketing. You got to earn your black belt marketing, discovery process to be able to, block objections before they happen. And then you need the SOS, right? You need the sales objection system to be able to overcome objections. So you can earn your black belt in all 3.
Love that.
Yeah.
One of the other aspects at sales that I look at both of you for is the fact that sales is very relationship based. I have a very strong relationship with both of you. I consider you, close friends. Unpack the story of how, I guess, your involvement with Fit Body came to be. I'm kind of leading the witness here. And then also just talk a little bit about just relationships in general, and then how you've been able to leverage those and the importance of those in the sales buying process.
Relationship sales is, especially now more than ever, like today in 2025 and moving forward, people are skeptical. And I think about how we connected. I mean, there was a time in my early 20s that it was all about, feature, advantage, benefit, and you'd pitch. You just came in and you pitched. You can't do that now. And so the way that we connected, if you think about it, it was a connection that I have, a very close friend of mine named, think of the Dominoes.
Yeah.
Victor Proudian, who's one of my best friends, stood up for me at my wedding, connected me with Bedros at the Empire Business Summit. Bedros is partners with Craig. I connect with Craig. Craig starts to coach me. Then fast forward, and I'm telling Craig, hey, and the dojo isn't even a thing yet.
Because this is then
2019.
I was going to say 2018.
Because you were actually the MC of that event.
Yeah.
And then the dojo, after the pandemic begins, the dojo starts. The SOS Dojo, sprouts up. We fast forward and things start to roll, right? Building momentum. Jeff comes on board, and then it's like, hey, Craig, I'd really like to connect with Fit Body Bootcamp. And he's like, well, I'll make an introduction. And I'm like, and Isaac Lara is working with you guys, and he's a copywriter, and Isaac was a member of the dojo, and it's like, these are all like pieces of the puzzle that all connect, like from Vic to Bedros to Craig to Isaac to Barrett to you. We get introduced, and I mean, admittedly, I'm like, okay, I put you into my CRM, and I'm like, okay, Bryce Henson, Tatiana, okay, like I'm learning, right?
Good man.
Because we got to know.
Yeah,
we got to know. And I don't want to be creepy about it. Just hey, I'm just gonna slowly take my time. And it was about a year and a half from when we were introduced to the moment where, we'll call it, you gave me an opportunity to do an audition.
Yeah.
And let me deliver to your mastermind group for free for 90 minutes. And as
Crushed,
they say,
man.
the rest is history, right? And here we are. Yeah.
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 Well, there's a lot to unpack there. The
Yeah.
value of relationships, the value of follow-up, the value of coming with a giving hand in order to build that. So
Yeah.
lots to unpack. Appreciate
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Burley, how about you? From your perspective, how important are relationships? How do you leverage them? How do you coach, your people in the dojo? The importance and really how to quickly build a relationship so they can build a rapport and really, help with that transaction.
Yeah, so I think that it's important to understand, based on like the value of what it is that you sell, how long it might take to build that relationship. So like, let's say that you sell something that's $100. You can build a relationship in like 10 minutes and probably flip $100.
Yep.
If you sell something that's like $5,000, maybe you need more like 60 minutes or even 2 calls that are 30 to 60 minutes each. If you sell something that's $1 million, you need like 3 months to 6 months of just constantly working with somebody.
Or longer.
Yeah.
Or longer, right? It could even be longer. Or in like the case of us with you guys, it was more kind of like from the outskirts, like, hey, let's just connect and like, hey, we'll bump shoulders. We'll meet up at like these different events. We'll keep talking. We'll chat, and we'll eventually get to a point where it's like, hey, what if we did this? What if we presented to your audience for 90 minutes? So we start to find out these opportunities for value delivery that we could have. And that's really what it's about. Like, if you want to establish a relationship, the first thing you have to figure out is, what would the other person value? What would the other company value if it's a company? What do they want? What would they benefit from? Not what would I benefit from. It can't be like, well, what could I get out of Fit Body Bootcamp?
Yeah.
Like, what could they give me if I just did everything right? It has to come down to, well, I think if we just gave them a bunch of information for 90 minutes, if we just presented like what we do, and we showed them like how they could easily improve their skill set in sales, they'd probably benefit from that. And if they benefited, they'd probably be happy. And if they're happy, then we can continue a conversation. And that's what it comes down to. Too often I see salespeople, whatever price range of whatever it is that they're selling, constantly talking about themselves. They're like, here's what I do, here's why I'm awesome, all about me. I've seen so many sales pitches, even visual presentations, where it's like there's an about me page.
Yeah.
It's the first slide. And they're like, this is me, I won all these awards, I'm pretty great, you should probably get coached by me because it's going to be good, obviously.
I won this trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. But like, it's nothing about the other person. So if you think about like meeting a stranger at a party is usually the example that I use. Or you could think of networking if you prefer for business settings. It's like, you wouldn't walk up to people and just say like, hi, I'm awesome, and here's what I do, and here's why I'm cool, and then like leave it.
But some people do, which
Oh my
is
gosh.
freaking wild.
Too many
Yes.
people do.
Too many people do. But that is
Yeah.
just a perfect example, because you go to a party, if you want to create influence, it's like, Jeff, tell me about you.
Right.
Yes.
Where are you from? Tell me about you have kids, all that. That's
How'd
the
you get
secret.
into that? Like,
Yeah.
what's the story? You just like, you're doing on the podcast right now, or like Joe was doing earlier out there. It's like we don't start with ourselves. We start with them first. So you start with them, and then you pay attention. We have a saying in the dojo, which is you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. So you need to listen twice as much as you speak. So if you listen more, if you practice this active listening and you pay attention, even take notes or mental notes if you have to, because you don't have like a note. That would be kind of weird at a party. You're like, oh yeah? Tell me more about that. So you take the mental notes, you pay attention, but you find those potential the opportunity for value delivered, and then you deliver that value. Like, oh, it seems like this would be something interesting for them. Let me just offer to give it to them, and then you do that, and it's probably not surprising to you that makes it really easy to build those relationships really fast. So one of the things that we talk about in the dojo all the time is like, when you're building those relationships, start by asking questions. In fact, you shouldn't even be making statements on like your sales conversation, whatever you call your sales conversation. You're not making statements or dropping features and all of that for maybe 30 minutes. It's like you're just asking. Eventually, you have the whole picture. Like, this is who they are. This is what they want. This is why they value that thing. And now that I know all this information, I can connect the dots for them, and we can find a win-win solution in which they are happy, and eventually I'll benefit too. Cool.
It depends too, the difference between, from a sales perspective, are you doing something from a consumer's perspective? Like if somebody's coming in and they want to buy a membership versus they want to buy a franchise, it's a different sale.
Oh, sure.
Right.
And so the cycle of that, you've got to be patient. Like the cycle that we had to eventually get the audition, I mean, it was a question of being relentless and still being patient.
Totally.
And it's still, the essence of it is still the same as what Jeff is saying. It's like, I want to be interested. So it's like, it's all about the guest, not the prospect, right? Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if the way that we think about people, it's, hey, listen, I'm going to make a connection with someone, and then I'm going to build a relationship with someone. And then potentially there could be an opportunity with that someone to then potentially have something where we're doing business. Like, that process needs to take time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to the point earlier, when we first met, I just actually didn't have any openings or like in my slate.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the fact that I was resistant to it, although new person, although came from a very trusted source in terms of Greg. But we had a mastermind program, which would be a great opportunity to first introduce you to the brand, which is how our relationship started with Fit Body Bootcamp. But just genuinely speaking, my calendar is full. As it turns out, there was an opportunity where a spot opened up. And then there you go. So back to the question of being rejected, if you will, or saying no. No, it's just not right now, or not with the information presented or the list of things that you just articulated there. But then also, too, to your credit, is when the opportunity is there, you have to be prepared.
Well, that's what luck is, right? It's preparedness and opportunity meet when they coincide. Oh, what a coincidence. You're lucky. It's like, you've been doing the work.
I was ready to
Totally.
go.
Like,
Because we wouldn't be sitting in this conversation right now if the opportunity was there, but it wasn't acted on or wasn't delivered on.
Right.
So that's a big lesson to the audience as we're processing this sales conversation. The last thing, like hearing you both, why I love sales and also leadership. Like, leadership is my kind of go-to. I love it because you get to shape people's lives. The same with sales. Leadership and sales are very intertwined. For me, the way I look at it, the root is the ability to influence or persuade someone. Now, typically from a sales perspective, you're trying to influence or persuade them to take action on a product or service, where in a leadership perspective, you're trying to influence or persuade, getting them to take action on a vision or idea. But at the end of the day, they're grounded in the same. So for me, I just light up sales around sales and leadership, and I think this is why your skill set and what you offer to the world is so valuable.
Thank you.
Boom.
We love it.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, I want to unpack a little bit about the SOS Dojo isms, as I refer to them, and just kind of training techniques and strategies, philosophies, sayings, if you will, that have really helped me, first and foremost, but specifically also helped our franchise partners, our owners, and our coaches, our salespeople within our franchise that have access to your dojo. So, Joe, you say this quite often, the highest energy wins.
100%.
So pretty straightforward, but unpack that. What do you mean? How do you teach that?
Sales is energy, and so I mean, you just saw me, like I literally just moved my body.
Yep.
And it's just a natural instinct. This physical thing that we have will shape the way that our energy comes out. 55% of the way we communicate is body language. 38% is tone. So change your state. That was something that Tony Robbins taught years ago, and he continues to do that. Like, change your state because it'll change your energy. In a seated position is one thing. I typically will stand. I'll stand up for Zoom calls. I'll definitely stand up on phone calls because it changes my energy. And I mean, it's not uncommon before I get on a call, I'll turn up some music, I'll amp myself up. Yet, I still don't want to be that guy who's so amped up where it's like, hey man, are you on Adderall right now? Like, back off, right? So it's one of those things where yes, highest energy wins, and be aware of who you're speaking with, because we call it energy pacing. So you show up, and if you're like, hey, congratulations for being here, which I know is something that we'll likely talk about because I'm a big fan of congratulations, and they come in if they go, well, thank you, as opposed to they might say, yeah, thanks. I come in at my level 8, 9 energy, and I pick up the fact that they're on level 3. I'll come down to level 4. And the idea is, as I build rapport, and then I find out about their goals and then their desires, and I have to earn my way to be able to present my offer. Well, all of that, you've got to be able to bring your energy slowly up, and they'll come with you. They will come with you. That's part of the influence. So highest energy wins, and it's understanding how that energy works. And you got to put in the reps. You just got to put in the practice. Man, it's fun though to see somebody get amped up with you.
Dude, I love that because I feel humbling myself. A lot of my success, in business and my career has just been showing up with good energy. Yeah. Not sometimes having the playbook or the know-how, but just like fired up, ready to go.
For sure.
And that, transmits to people. People pick up on that, and then ultimately you are very much influenced by that as well.
You could be the best coach in the world. If you have horrible energy, nobody's going to buy your program. You could be the best or most knowledgeable car salesman in the world. If you don't come in with the right energy, nobody's going to buy from you.
Now, the second thing you just said, which is a little bit off tangent from energy, but I have to earn the right to be able to offer you that. Unpacked, I mean, that's incredible sales relationship capital, perspective. Like, unpack that for me.
So we call it ETR. So earning the right. Even though we have a buying conversation roadmap, we have a step-by-step process, which we've shown Fit Body Bootcamp. So you've got your offer. Somebody comes in, either in through the door. They got to lift the heaviest thing that they've ever lifted, which is that front door coming in, or pick up the phone, or even click the button to book a call.
Yep.
That's the hard part. Then when they show up, then we've got to build rapport. And until we've developed that rapport so that we could then earn the right to move on to the next step, which is finding out what their goals are, and we call them SMART goals. And then from there, once we get their SMART goals, then we can start figuring out what their actual desire, the underlying, the peeling away the onion of what they really desire, what they really want, and the why, if you will. We like to call it the desire piece, so that once we get their true desire and get emotional, and emotion it varies. Emotion could be somebody's feeling like sad, or they're crying, or emotional where they're fired up. So it really depends. Either way, people buy based on emotion and they justify with logic. So based on this, once we've got desire, then we transition to our presentation. We have to earn every step of the way before biggest mistake that most people make is they pitch. And so like the 3 C's of the sales samurai, you have conviction, you have confidence, you need to have control, because otherwise you repel, and that's the problem.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
All right, I have another dojoism that you just sparked, but I'm going to table that. I'm going to go to Jeff here. My next one, this is so brilliant. I never heard it before, but Jeff, when you said this in this moment of time, I was like, holy shit, he is absolutely right. Budgets are not real.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about that.
That's great.
I feel like people love and hate this one.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's like, no, they are real. I have a budget. Like, no, what I'm suggesting is, and I always use just an example to make it clear to people. So like I would have you or the audience just think, was there ever a time where there was something that you wanted really bad? Doesn't matter if it was like a retail item or if it was a vacation or a car or whatever. There was something you wanted and it was out of your quote unquote budget. You're like, I don't really have the money for this. This would be something tough to afford at the moment. Anything like that. And then you wanted it so bad that you found a way to get it.
Yep.
And I feel like we can all think back to like being kids and there was something we wanted. And we're like, I got to get that. So we got a job, or we found a way to earn more allowance. We asked our parents, like, is there a way that I can just make more money? Like, what else can I do around the house? And then you made enough money and then you went and you bought the thing.
You found a way.
Yeah, you found a way.
Sure. Yeah.
So what that teaches us is that budgets aren't actually real. Like it's a fake force field that we put around our bank accounts to protect ourselves from like going bankrupt. But in reality, it's preventing us from the things that we want and the things that we enjoy. And if we simply found a way, we could have those things.
Dave Ramsey right now is rolling. He's
pissed.
He's killing it.
He hates
he's like,
me.
no way.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like,
That's okay, Ramsey.
I didn't like that program anyway. That's fine. But like at the end of the day, like people will tell you, I don't have the money for this. But if they want it bad enough, they'll find a way to afford it. So what that teaches us in sales is that, again, going back to like, don't take no the wrong way. It could be like, no, not right now, or no, not with the perceived value that I have. So if you can do a better job communicating perceived value, if you can develop want, or what Joe was referring to, which is one of the two key components of sales, which is desire, the second being urgency. If you have desire, meaning like this deep, powerful want, if you can facilitate that during a sales conversation and they get to a point where emotionally they react, which could be like, it's not always like they cry. There's an old sales adage that's if they cry, they buy, which I don't like all the time. Sometimes they cry and they don't buy. So that's why it's not great.
Sometimes they're laughing and they're buying. So,
it's an emotional response.
That's
we call it like if they elicit an emotional response, if they start gravitating towards the solution you present or whatever it is that you sell, then you've got desire. And if you have desire, you're like halfway home. You just need a little bit of urgency and they'll buy the thing.
Yeah.
So budgets, you can smash them. They don't have to exist. People just make them up, man.
This is so true. This is so damn true. I mean, being in sales for a long time, 2 decades, but then also just experiencing my own buying behavior and then just watching people's buying behavior. Budgets are not real. That's the bottom line. Yeah. So when you said that, it was just so simplicity. There was so genius in that simplicity is really what I came to the conclusion on. And lastly, this is why I'm so passionate about people finding something that's going to add value to some other person, and then they dramatically believe. Because at the end of the day, people overspend. That's just the vast amount of the situation. Yep. People are in credit card debt and et cetera. I genuinely believe in my bones it is worth someone whose life and health is just all out of whack to even to go into credit card debt, to pay for a gym membership, pay for healthy food, to put them in a situation where they can fire all cylinders, have mental clarity, and then they'll become a higher earner and their life will benefit from. They'll make that money back and then some. Yeah. So budgets are not real. Find something that you truly believe in and that will help other people, and you will watch your statement just have truth all over.
And that's the truth behind that. That's the whole, even though I'm tongue-in-cheek to Dave Ramsey, I mean, if you have integrity and you see somebody who's not the right fit for your offer, I mean, from an integrity standpoint, it's okay to say, you know what, this isn't the right time.
Sure.
The vast majority of people coming to a Fit Body Bootcamp, for example, is that they're in need, man.
If they show up. They're there for a reason.
They're there for a reason.
And also,
so you got to help them.
And also, too, depends on the marketing. There's a lot to probably unpack there.
Budgets aren't real. It's fact. Yeah.
100%.
I mean, they're there. You got to help them because otherwise they leave. They could go and spend money somewhere else.
And they will.
And they're going to be
pissing away on something that's not going to be beneficial to their life.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's the urgency.
Friends, budgets are not real. So damn true. All right. Next one, and you talked a little bit about the sensei, if you will, but you, Joe, talk about being a warrior in a garden versus being a gardener in a war. And it's way better to be a warrior in a garden than it is to be a gardener in a war. 100%. Let's talk about that.
100%. So having the right tools, skill set, mindset, and heart set, you've got to put in the time and you got to put in the repetitions. And if you're a gardener and the war is upon you and you don't have the right tools, you don't have the right heart set, the right skill set, the right mindset, well, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so being a warrior in a garden, it's exactly the same example that I just gave you like a minute ago, where you can have integrity, you can have the skills, you know when to pull out the sword, you could decimate everyone. I mean, the three of us at this table, if we chose to sell, we could go and sell something that even if we didn't like it, we could probably choose to do it because we have the skills. And we choose to sell things that we have passion for, that we want to help people. And that's the benefit of being a warrior in the garden, because we're choosing from a perspective of integrity. I'm not going to sell that, or I'm not going to sell it that way. And I'm also not going to put somebody in a position where they're really going to be screwed. if they make this investment, for example. So the warrior in the garden is someone who could, and this is really important, you need to learn how to be, like Jordan Peterson would say, you need to be so freaking dangerous and know how to hold it back. That's the warrior in the garden.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. You have to be trained. You have to be capable. Because if you're not capable, I think Jordan Peterson, you're just like a little rabbit, that's going to get ran over.
That's it.
But no, you need to be capable and then be able to, I guess, enact that force when you need to, but also restrain. It's control.
Right? So
going
you
back
have
to the third C.
Yeah, you have confidence, you have conviction, so the belief. Because if you don't have confidence, nobody believes you. And if you don't have conviction, nobody believes in you. And if you don't have control, then you're just pushing people away because you take all of your tools and you're just this crazy person swinging the sword everywhere. And that's, a samurai wouldn't do that. Yeah. A samurai would be at peace.
That is like a mic drop moment. Can you hit that one more time, that framework about the 3 C's?
So the 3 C's are when you're confident, people believe you.
Yeah.
Right? So when you have that level of confidence, your tone changes.
Yeah.
And so just that tone, even if you can't see the person, you're on a phone call, they can hear it in your voice, that level of confidence. The conviction, right? Again, confidence, people believe you. Conviction is that your inner belief, they feel the energy, whether it's through the phone, on a Zoom call, or live and in person.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have that level of conviction, then people believe in you. And people are going to buy you first before they buy the product or the service or the program. So it's like now you've got confidence and conviction, and then those two together can still be very dangerous because if you don't have the control to be able to know when to pull out the sword and know when not to, that's the game changer. That's the part that most people, because you can get some really young novice or rookie salespeople that they think they know and they're well-meaning, they have no control, and then they come across as pushy, salesy, icky, and all of that. And it's like, listen, man, if you have the 3 C's, you will be an unstoppable force in sales.
That is such a framework. And I will quantify this just by an example that just happened to me a week ago. So we're shooting this in January of 2025. This is released in February. But I was just spending the holiday in Brazil with my wife and her family. I lived down there from 2010 to 2012. And my mother-in-law, she got bit by like an octopus about a year ago. And she had like a whole allergic reaction. And she went to all these medical doctors, couldn't figure out what it was. But there's a treatment called ozone therapy where they put an extra molecule of oxygen in your blood, and basically that oxygen infuriates in a good way your immune system. So it just basically, just supercharges your immune system. I've actually had ozone therapy here. So she wanted to take me to this particular doctor because this has been like a game changer for her. She just wanted to, help my immune system on the 24-hour journey back. When I sat down with the doctor, her level of conviction in terms of selling ozone therapy was just through the roof. She had the control. Okay, she had the 3 C's, but her conviction alone, if there was a little like doubt in the back of my mind, it literally was just wiped away because you could just feel this in her bones. From there, it was done and dusted. So that just kind of shows you like the power of conviction in terms of sales, in terms of influence and persuasion, and of course, matching it with the control element as well.
Yeah, love it.
That. All right. Next up, Burley, I'm going to flip this to you. And this is a very tactile framework. And when I first heard this, and I learned this from you probably about, a year and a half or 2 years ago, I took a step back. I was like, you know what? He's absolutely right. And I think it goes down to like the subconscious mind, if you will, and how sometimes we subconsciously are rejecting things. But one of the things that you talk about in the dojo is change your why questions to what-based questions. So unpack that, and also, too, give the foundation of why that's so powerful.
Yeah, so we actually have swear words in the dojo.
Yeah, that's one of them.
One of them is why, and one of them is but. There are many other ones, but those are the. And then there's regular swear words too.
The traditional swear words.
We'll throw those around too sometimes.
The normal ones too.
Yeah.
But so the reason that why is a swear word, and we didn't in sales, we didn't used to think it was. In fact, I used to always have it in my sales conversations where I would just straight up ask people, be like, "Why is this important to you?"
Right.
Be like, "Hey, what are your goals?" I'd get a goal and I'd be like, well, "Why do you want to lose 20 pounds?" And I know I'm not the only one that does that.
Oh,
no.
Other people have done that.
It's still out
all
there
the
today.
time.
Yeah.
It's something where there's a level of unlearning that has to happen with that. The reason that we changed it is because we've found that why is just such an invasive question.
Yeah, like
It's
even
triggered.
even just watching you ask that to Joe, it like triggered me a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. Well, it goes back to being a kid who knocked over a lamp. Why'd you do that?
Why'd you do that? You're like,
Yeah.
ugh.
We were at an airport. Was this Denver? Was
Yeah,
it the last
it was
Fit Body
actually when
event?
we were
Yeah.
at the event. We were flying back.
Yeah, we were flying back. So we were at the airport, walking through the terminal, and a little kid knocked over his cup,
the
spilled
coffee.
spilled his coffee or whatever. Not his coffee, but parents' coffee.
no, his parents'
he spilled
coffee.
a drink. Okay,
Yeah.
so the kid spills a drink. Mom goes, "Why'd you do that?"
Game changing.
And you get this visceral reaction
Yeah.
that like you had, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? Like it's invasive, it's pushy,
It
it's
feels
aggressive.
like now I have to justify that to
Yeah,
you.
well,
You're going
because
into
I need
old
to.
wounds now.
Yeah.
You're digging into a scar, and
Yeah.
now you're like picking away at it. You're going into old wounds.
Oh yeah.
So what it creates is a level of discomfort, this visceral reaction, and what we want in the sales process is always positive. It has to be positive energy because they have to feel good. That if you want to get to a point of like desire and urgency where they want the thing and they want to work with you and like I love this and we're excited and energy's going up, in order for it to keep going up, it has to stay positive because when it gets negative, energy drops. So if we ask like, why do you want to do this? Energy drops in a negative way. So by switching that to a what question, it becomes way less aggressive. So instead of saying, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? I can ask instead, what are you excited about when it comes to losing this weight? Right? If you lose this 20 pounds, what are all the amazing things that are going to happen to you? Or I could simply ask like, what makes you want to lose 20 pounds?
And in that, and like hearing that, I'm like excited to answer. I don't feel like I have to justify the goal to you. I actually now am able to elaborate the goal and see if you can help me with that goal.
Yeah.
That's just literally as I'm hearing this in real time. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and like any why question could become a what question.
Easy. Just flip it.
Basically, we stop people in the dojo during practice in our live sessions where they say why. We just stop them and we say, okay, how could we make that a what question? And then we have them back up and do it again with a what question. And we just unlearn the why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once we do that, like it's a lot easier to, again, maintain that positive energy during the sales process and keep our potential clients, hopefully soon to be clients, keep them happy, keep them feeling good about the process because they need to feel good about you. They need to feel good about what this call actually is in order for them to want to move forward. Because as soon as I feel a level of discomfort with you, I don't want to buy from you.
Totally.
Because I have to deal with you all the time. And if you already make me feel uncomfortable, then I'm not going to work with you.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, that's gold. I think that's just not common in sales training.
No.
But it's so effective and so powerful. And I just want to be, one, teach the audience that, but two, acknowledge you for that because that is a ninja move for sure.
yeah.
All right. The last question tactically that I want to kind of go through, and you created the SOS, the sales objection system.
Yeah.
Dojo, right? So part of sales is objections. That's just
Like it or not.
Yeah, like it or not. That's just part of the process as
Yeah.
well. A 2-step framework you taught on how to handle any objection.
Yeah.
I want you to uncover that because tactically, if someone's listening or watching this, I mean, the goal that we've already talked about and you've already provided value is immense. But this alone will dramatically help someone's sales ability.
Yeah.
So can you unpack and really explain what your 2-step framework is and just talk about it?
Sure. So the 2-step framework of the sales objection system is step 1, you acknowledge the person that you're having the conversation with. You don't acknowledge specifically the objection, you acknowledge the person. Now, what we like to say in the dojo is you want to listen to them into existence because people want to be heard.
People want, like, inherently, like a human need is they want to be heard.
Correct.
Yeah.
So imagine if you said it's too expensive and the typical response that we hear is, well, compared to what? Or what are you comparing it to?
Which
That's
is it's
typical.
like that's typical, and then it's like it creates like this aggressive kind
Right.
of combative type of dynamic.
It's literally the exclusivity push where it's you versus me.
Right.
The acknowledgement, and again, simplicity is elegance, and that I'm stealing that line from Tom Peters, who wrote Reimagine. It's still one of my favorite business books of all time. And
Reimagine?
Yeah, Reimagine by
Okay.
Tom Peters. He also wrote In Search of Excellence previous to that, which is probably his most famous book. However, I read this simplicity is elegance and 2 steps for overcoming an objection. Acknowledge, ask a question. And keeping in mind, I mean, it sounds just so damn easy up front, right? It's like 2 steps. That's great. It's a great blueprint. All I got to do is acknowledge and ask a question. The problem within all of this framework is that if you're the salesperson and you've taken the time to build a relationship with someone, to eventually, get to, you meet someone, you build a relationship, you have an opportunity, and now you finally present, and then the objection comes up. It's too expensive, can't afford it, need to think about it, got to go speak with my wife, the boss, my husband. You as the salesperson have an emotional response. And when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. And it's plain as day. We can see it. We can see it on your face. We can hear it in your voice. So the practice of the 2 steps is essential. And go in with, I want to be interested, as opposed to being interesting. So what's the agenda? The agenda is yours. If you're my guest, right? It's not my agenda. If the salesperson is going in with the agenda that I'm going in to close you, and that's the problem that a lot of people have with salespeople. If the agenda is, I'm here to help you, and so you say it's too expensive, Bryce, thank you so much for letting me know how you feel. You're just telling me your opinion, or you're sharing how you're feeling. Then it's, what exactly are we comparing it to? And there's a lot to unpack just that, because the words that you're using, even though words are only 7% of the way we communicate, we're not saying, what are you comparing it to? It's, what are we comparing it to?
And like inclusive, like I'm part of the process.
Absolutely. So all of these things, these little nuggets, all pile up. It's the atomic habit of sales. It's adding the 1%. We add a lot of 1% so that it makes a massive difference to your bottom line. And all of this practice, what does it do? It gets you more confident, more conviction, more control.
The 3 C's, baby.
You bet.
Brings it back full circle.
100%.
Guys, man, this has just been awesome. I've just fired up. As I transition to kind of close out this particular conversation, I want to talk about what's on tap for 2025 in terms of the dojo. And one of the things I do know is I think we have a book in launch. So I just want to now, you've added so much value to our audience. I just want to give you a little space. Talk about your book. Talk about the plans. Talk about our partnership. What's going to go down in 2025?
This is huge. So this book project has been in the works for a long time, and it was Bedros who actually said to me, "Wait before you bring your book out." So when I met him in 2019, I had this book, the guts of the book ready, and he said, "Wait, because you need to build up some of your network, some of your audience, and then when the book is ready, it's time to go." And then this I knew was the year, because we've got relationship with you guys, and we got other relationships with other companies outside of the fitness industry that are growing, and so it's really exciting times right now for the SOS Dojo. So the book is How to Be an Army of One in Sales, and we're going to turn it into a series. So it's How to Be an Army of One in Sales, and then it could be How to Be an Army of One in Real Estate Sales, How to Be an Army of One in Gym Membership Sales. And we've got a list of people that we could see ourselves co-authoring with, so that it brings opportunity to be able to add more pieces to the puzzle, and it's an inclusive endeavor. So yeah, it's really exciting. So we're currently in second edit. There's some personal stories of the why piece of what got me into it, and it's going to be very challenging. There's some really gut-wrenching stuff I've been working on to be able to share. So I don't want to divulge anything. It's going to be, and it's hard work. I can tell you, writing a book is not. It's not go to ChatGPT and let it happen for you. So that's what's happening. There's some other opportunities. I just got a really fast relationship that took place with a massive insurance company. They've got 50,000 employees globally. And I've got an opportunity. I mean, it's a paid audition. They're paying me. They're in my hometown. And it all happened because we'll call it divine intervention. A buddy of mine's a season ticket holder of the Winnipeg Jets. He says, "Hey, I'll take you out to a game." I said, "Cool, man. I'll buy dinner." The restaurant that we were going to, which we had never gone to, was like empty. I mean, I'm like, I'm not going there if it's empty. Like, it's a bad sign. But we're in the wrong lane to go to the arena. So I'm heading the wrong direction. I'm like, well, we're going to go to High's Steakhouse, and it's like the top steakhouse in the city. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. Well, if you surround yourself by the people and conditions you want to produce, crazy things happen. So think of it.
If you surround yourself by the conditions you want to produce,
You bet.
amazing things happen.
Yeah. So think this out. I mean, think of, I went to the Empire Business Summit, which was surrounding myself with the people and conditions I want to produce, and look what happened. So now I'm on my way to a Winnipeg Jets hockey game with my buddy Chris, and we park at the Fairmont Hotel. We go to High's Steak Loft. Parking gets validated. We get 30% off because we're wearing Jets jerseys, which is awesome. And then as I'm sitting there, this woman who we're acquaintances, like we've known each other for a long time, but I mean, I might speak to her every couple of years. She walks up to me and she says, Joe Marcoux, I've been following you on social media. I just saw you got back from Dubai from a speaking engagement. And I'm like, yeah. Hey, Joanne.
Oh, this is like 2 months ago. You were in Dubai in Q4 of last year.
You got it.
Yeah.
So then she says, I'm working for this big insurance company. And I mean, I have no problem saying the brand. It's Aon Insurance. Like, they're huge. And she says, I just told the leadership team that we should hire you, and they're sitting right there. Would you like to meet them? Right? So, yeah, all of that to be said, the domino effect of being in the right conditions and meeting those people within 10 days, Bryce, 10 days of meeting Mike, got an opportunity to do a live full day with their Prairie Province team. And it's...
And a paid audition.
And they're paying me.
I just love how your mind works, you guys. Like, and that's what it is. Like the framing of that, it's like the paid audition. One, that's so humble. It's like you have an opportunity
for sure.
to deliver value. You're like, I hear gratitude. It's like, hey, it's a paid audition.
Yeah.
And then you're going to continue on that relationship. That's just the mindset, the energy you guys show up with, and you teach not only the SOS Dojo, our owners at Fit Body Bootcamp is just world class.
And the relationship with you guys, I mean, yeah, we're having so much fun. This last year has just been a riot. And to be able to come and speak at World Conference and everything else, I mean, we have plans that we want to divulge with you a little bit later, where it's like, hey, we want to be able to bring more opportunity for you guys and more value, because we have a passion for health and fitness as well. So let's face it, if there's a way we can, bring more to the table so that you can not only grow your franchises, but have the franchises be even healthier in the way that they do things. And yeah, we have more ways to be able to do that with you. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great year.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Burley, anything to add on that before my last question for both of you?
Yeah, I mean, other than that, we're just like opportunities are popping up. We were just talking before we started the podcast. It's like we could start a year with like no trips planned, and last year we ended with like 10 trips attended.
Yeah, it just happened so
nearly once a month.
Yeah, and it's what you said earlier. It's like just being ready for that opportunity. Like we're not just waiting around hoping things happen, like it comes up and like, oh no, my schedule doesn't work. Like, no, we'll make it work. So, but other than that, one thing we're really excited about and we've been working on this week, because we're here for a mastermind with Craig Ballantyne, has been not redesigning the entire thing, but like adding as much value as we can for another format of the SOS Dojo, if you will. So we're looking at an extremely tactical, like 12-week approach that would be just approachable for any entrepreneur, any coach, something they could step into, where each week they have like one action step with one result expectation that's going to come out of that. And that way they're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It starts with 4 weeks of marketing so that they build a successful lead gen system. It goes into 4 weeks of discovery so they redesign their entire sales process from top to bottom. And then it ends with 4 weeks of SOS so that they know how to handle objections when they inevitably come up. So that's something we're really excited about. That'll drop this year and should be something to help people become really successful with. So, yeah.
So more good things on the horizon, and I would expect nothing less from you gentlemen. All right, so to close this out, to kind of put a bow on this, someone's listening, watching, hopefully inspired, but there's a little doubt, like, you know what, can I take that next step? Can I open a Fit Body Bootcamp? Can I launch a business? Can I be a successful salesperson? What's your final piece of parting advice for that person? Jeff, we'll start with you and then finish out with Joe.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like belief in self and self-worth goes the distance, really. It's like if there's something that you want to do, you simply have to find within yourself that belief. And by having that belief, you can do anything that you want to do. I know it sounds cheesy, but there were so many things that I wanted to do. I thought initially, there's no way. How many times have we said that to ourselves? Like, there's no way that could happen. There's no way I could do that thing. And then I stopped and I caught myself and I was like, okay, what if I just reframed that? And instead of saying, there's no way this could happen, I was like, wow, no way. This did happen.
Yeah.
And you start just rethinking it a little bit. I was like, no way, I could do that. Like, why not? And what did we say when we first met up on this trip? I was talking to you about, we need to take bigger risks. Like, why not?
Yeah.
And that is something where you take those risks. We said earlier, like, don't take no as like a no, never. Like, no, this is never going to happen. It's maybe a no, not right now.
No for
or
now.
with you, it's like the opportunity is not there yet. Or like, I'm not in a position where I can perceive the value from you guys yet. Then 18 months later, it's like, oh, you got room for this value now. Like, oh, I could see potentially something happening here. So I think you start with that belief in yourself and the reframing of like, there's no way that this could happen for me too. No way. Like this could happen. This is something I could do. Like, why not? Really? At the end, I know it's a bad word that we use, but in this circumstance, we'll allow it.
The thing with why that I've always said is that why is different when if you're having a conversation with someone and you're using why, it's right. It triggers. If I'm asking myself
internally.
why, it's a different why. It's a different game because I'm not triggering myself. I'm asking myself, whether it's eyes closed or open, right? Yeah. And if you're asking for a response from above or whatever you believe in, you still got to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
You still got to take action. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and I would add that the piece that I said earlier of surround yourself by the people and the conditions you want to produce. That's a Wayne Dyerism. I'd love to say that I can take credit for it. I can't. Dr. Wayne Dyer said it in his program, The Power of Intention, which I must have listened to at least 100 times. And the benefit of this is that you've got to contemplate yourself as surrounded by the people and conditions you want to produce. So what do you want? And so if you have that desire that we've talked about, that Jeff so eloquently has the ability to really get to the people's root of desire, okay, great. So what do you want? And then see yourself, not just see yourself, then the question is act. Like act, do things that are going to put you in. So if you want to get a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise and you really want it and you may not have the money to do it, what do you need to do to be able to go out and make money? You got to learn the skills of sales. Maybe you need to start asking people about investment. Who do you know? Like, go and take action and learn. Read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, like game-changing book, because you want to be interested, not interesting. And so the more that you can do that, and I'll give Bedros props on this one. Bedros told me in 2019 when I first met him, he said, Joe, proximity is power. You're going to have to pay to meet some of these influential people. You're just going to have to. Proximity is power. So it's no different that you pay for proximity. If you think I took my buddy Chris to McDonald's, right? Do you think that I would have met the guys from Aon Insurance? Hell no.
Clearly not.
So yeah, you know what? If it's not to say that you get yourself in debt for the sake of getting in debt. It's think of, are you flying business class? If it's a flight that's 6 hours or longer, are you going to choose to fly business class? Now the question is, are you just going in and pouring yourself drinks and being an idiot, or are you paying attention to the people that are in the business lounge, and then you go to a networking event, and instead of sitting there like the Las Vegas dealer and you're shuffling out business cards, which nobody's going to keep, go in and with the intention of, I'm going to meet one person in here, and I'm going to make a relationship. So it's network, which turns into relationship, which turns into opportunity, which could turn into a sale.
Joe Marcoux, Jeff Burlingame, appreciate you boys. This was an awesome chat. You inspired a lot of people. Before I close it out, I want to give you the opportunity. Speaking of people following and watching content, where can our audience follow you, your website, social media, etc.?
Website is sosdojo.com, sosdojo.com. You can follow us on Instagram at SOS Dojo, or just look up Joe Marcoux. And LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a fabulous platform for us. So look up Joe Marcoux on LinkedIn. And we also have a YouTube channel. So, yeah.
Rock and roll. We'll put all that content in the show notes. Before we wrap, I just want to, number one, thank you for being here, making the trip from Canada to the Midwest, out in Southern California, here in the studio, adding value to the audience. That means a lot, but way more than that. I just want to appreciate for who you are, how you show up, the energy that you provide, and you truly practice what you preach. Everything that you teach your students, our Fit Body owners, our salespeople, you take action, you act on that real time. That's called moral authority, which I learned from the great John Maxwell, and you guys do that in spades. I'm honored for you to be here. I'm honored to call you as friends.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time today. Friends, I know you got a ton of value from this episode. My two asks for you: like, subscribe, and drop your biggest takeaway, your sales biggest takeaway that you learned on this particular episode in the comments. We'd love to have a healthy engagement there. And remember, adversity is your advantage. We'll see you in the next episode.